Howdy, and welcome to Endure Beyond, the #1 human efficiency podcast, a safe space for human expansion and efficiency, and what we're formally calling a safe space for developing the leaders of tomorrow. I would like to say bienvenidos, jokosa, willkommen, achan dik dobro pajalobat bitashle. Welcome to all of you, our friends, our allies, our investors, our customers, our returning listeners, our new arrivals, foreign and domestic, for joining us here. For you do not know your current investment and how valuable it is into this species. And you will come to learn. But for now, I would just say thank you for indulging me in helping you win. As I say, this is Endure Beyond. For those of you that don't know my voice, my name is Darius, and I've been the host of Endure Beyond, creator of a few strange things since 2018, and it's been an honor to be on this journey with you. We've had quite a few moments together to discuss some crucial topics. Let's say almost 1,000 at this point. We have 630 plus official episodes released. We have many on the back end from Endure Beyond Gold, many that have been taken down by our adversaries, but that's okay. This too shall pass. We shall always rise. And through American ingenuity, innovation, and cooperation, there is effectively nothing that can stop us. So, again, thanks, guys, for being here. As you do know, we have two forms. We have short form, long form, in an oscillatory fashion. This is going to be our short form. Long form typically follows Q&A. It's a little bit longer than usual. Our short form is about the most applicable topic to the modern battle space. We fuse the topics of sports psychology and exercise physiology, unlike any show out there, to deliver what we call actionable intelligence to you, to make you better as a leader, as a performer, as a governor, as an executor, as a decision maker in whatever craft, discipline, field that you follow in. How do we do this? How can we guarantee this? We can't. Only you can do that. Only you can take action to make your life better, but we can deliver value to you in these disciplines by studying the top 1 to 0.1% in their habits, as we call them, the apex ultra performers, the ones who, despite all odds, decade after decade, continue to perform in their crafts. And it's becoming more and more clear that they don't really have anything special, but they do have quite a few traits in common. And this is where we discuss what those traits look like. But what we're going to do is we're going to revisit the topic that we discussed before, but that despite how rapidly we're seeing the AI and human pairing infrastructure develop, is still important, because the most important thing to us, at least, is a human-centric model. From our research team to our even our marketing element, it's all about what we can do for the human model. Because if what we're doing, whether that be technological development, logistics, whether that be a diplomatic relationship, if it's not focused on the human-centric model, well, then we've lost the plot, or we have effectively have lost. So it's important that we reiterate that. Okay? And as you can tell by the title, the topic that we're revisiting is skeletal muscle, the self-governance longevity organ. Now, if those of you that have been in the modern media landscape have probably realized how important muscle is, but I still think that the topic is extremely underrated, right? We just say you do this to build muscle, and that's what makes it so important. But we want to give you guys a little bit higher level of intelligence. Why? Because if you're here, that means you serve in some sort of leadership capacity. That could be a team of 2 or a team of 200. Someone somewhere looks to you for guidance, for advice, even if you don't quite know it yet. And it's really important to not only to know what you're talking about or have an idea, but to understand why, or what we call like the point of origin for the information. And the topic of muscle has developed a lot over the past few decades, and we're still learning as we go along. But the point is to understand how it applies across all disciplines. And most people still think that skeletal muscle is about aesthetics. I take great pleasure in scrolling TikTok and Instagram just to see what kind of cultural topics are out there. What's most popular? And I look at a lot of skeletal muscle, and people still see it as something that's all about vanity. And I just want to take a moment to say, yes, does it look good? Does it fill out your clothes? Does it give you more confidence? Does it present more opportunities? Yes, absolutely. Because it says things that that your mouth and your words could never say. But it's not just about looking better or filling out a shirt or even chasing vanity. That is outdated thinking. Skeletal muscle is one of the most important self-governance organs in the human body. I would beg to say the most important. Now, I'm a little bit biased, okay? As a performance physiologist, eh, skeletal muscle is my kind of subject matter expertise. And I look at it and how it delays or develops, enhances or preserves human capability across the entire health and lifespan. So the number of years that you have and the quality of those years. And most of the things you do, whether it influences quality or length, is influenced by skeletal muscle. Not only that, but it protects you in the long run. So where most of society may think that the focus is about money, okay, if you don't have the physical capability to protect yourself or to govern yourself, let's say to even wipe your own butt, what is the point? Okay, how far does money really get you at that point? So we say, okay, we ask the question, present the thought experiment. What is really important? Okay, and of course, money, relationships, resources, all those things are catalysts to better lives. Okay, but what can we do with little money, with little resources, with little connections? What do you have at your fingertips that is a catalyst to great change? That is skeletal muscle. Everyone has it in different quantities, but its basic function is the same across the board. So your goal is to say, hey, how can I master this thing? How can I make it work to my advantage? So as I said, skeletal muscle is one of the most important self-governance organs, if not the most important self-governance organ in the human body. What does self-governance mean? It means how can you not have to rely on external mediums to develop something? So think about it like this. It governs how you age, how you move, how you absorb or negate stress, how you regulate energy, and how ready you are when the environment gets hostile. If you lose muscle, especially rapidly, you do not just lose size, you lose leverage. You lose resilience to disease, to just life in general. You lose metabolic authority, your ability to govern energy, where it goes at any given time. And in fact, you even lose options. And in the future that we are building towards, we, big W, subterra, vault systems, exoterra habitats, even off-world living, the person with stronger muscle governance is the person, the human, the leader with better odds of staying useful, stable, and of course, alive. So when I say skeletal muscle is the self-governance longevity organ, I mean it helps govern the internal conditions that determine whether you thrive or decay. And as we see this human AI pairing relationship evolve rapidly, there are only two positions. You're either rich getting richer or you're poor getting poorer. And I don't mean that from a financial point. I mean that from a capability point. Skeletal muscle helps govern movement capacity, glucose disposal, structural protection, recovery potential, injury resistance, metabolic efficiency, and long-term, and this is a big one, long-term independence. It's not only political or philosophical when we talk about self-governance. Self-governance primarily is physiological. A body that cannot regulate itself under pressure is not free. In fact, I could go as far as to say you can apply that to just about anything. So I'll say it one more time. A body that cannot regulate itself under pressure is not free. A body that cannot carry load, absorb force, and recover from strain is not sovereign. A person who cannot physically maintain function over time, stress, gravity, all natural recurring elements, or even confinement, isolation, that's one that we've been talking about a lot recently, is operating with borrowed power. This is why muscle matters. Now, skeletal muscle matters most importantly because longevity is not just living longer. Okay, whereas my colleagues and predecessors might just say it's just about how long you live, man, and what if the human can live to 130? I beg the question of, well, who the hell wants to live to 130 if 70 of those years you're living as the crypt keeper? And I don't want to have to spend 60 years in a nursing home as long as it keeps me alive. Excuse me and forgive me if I want to be able to travel and do amazing things and take care of my family, maybe even visit off-world habitats. Just something to consider. So what's the answer? The answer is simple. It's muscle. Muscle protects your future self from becoming physically dependent sooner than necessary. Muscle allows you to carry your own mass, your own tools, wipe your own butt, and take care of your own responsibilities. And it's clear that muscle is one of the most democratic forms of biological insurance that we have. So why, Darius? Why call it a self-governance organ? For someone that be maybe new to this discipline, maybe you haven't really heard it referred to as a self-governance organ. Maybe you've only seen muscle as something aesthetic. I just want to emphasize how powerful this stuff is. And when you get a grip on it early, you gain an insurmountable, an invaluable position of leverage in life. So retaining enough muscle-driven function to make your years usable is your focus. If someone asks why they should care about muscle if they are not a bodybuilder, the answer is simple. Because muscle protects your future self from becoming physically dependent sooner than necessary. Once muscle begins to decline, downstream effects, the normal effects of the decline of human life take place. This is lower movement confidence, lower metabolic health, greater fall risk, weaker structural support, higher frailty, and lower resilience under stress. Now, as you notice, a lot of these things we discuss are all related to age. Something that we all, no matter what resources you have access to, will do. As much as we want to believe that technology or science is going to come along to save us, so let's look at the big picture of what that would mean for humankind as a whole. First, I will say some people are meant to die. All right. There are some old world beliefs, old world traditions that do not need to be a part of the future. And a lot of them are just generational trauma passed down. The only way to weed that out is for the generation to die before it is too late. Okay. That's just the unfortunate reality of it. But as far as the aging process goes, everyone's going to age. I don't know how long you're going to live, but you're going to die. There are many people out there that want to try and live forever, but as far as resources go, it's just not possible. The human body will decay at some point. Now, the amount of time it takes to get from cradle to grave, maybe we can't extend it, but we damn sure can improve the quality. So again, why call it a self-governance organ? Because muscle responds only to discipline. It's why most pharmaceutical technologies, if not 99.9% of them, cannot regulate the growth of muscle. Now, can you blunt it? Of course. Can you delay it from decline or from structural loss? Sure. But can you inhibit it? Can you promote its growth? No, because it only responds to discipline. It responds to repeated input, tension, fuel, recovery, and most importantly, consistency. So it reflects whether your life is operating on stimulus and structure or on drift. Here's the deal. Muscle becomes, at a certain point, muscle becomes a visible expression of internal order. Not perfection, not vanity. So we're not talking about the bodybuilding culture. It's your skeletal muscle profile improving over time. It usually means certain governing behaviors improved with it. I'll give you an example. You trained, you recovered. You ate with more intention, you tolerated discomfort, and you repeated the right things long enough, which is why at the beginning of the episode, I said that your physique, when you appear muscular, it has the ability to automatically open doors. It can give you opportunities because to those that have also built a discipline, it says more about you than your words ever could. Skeletal muscle is one of the cleanest visible markers of governed expert. So if you don't have effort over a long period of time, it will show. Besides that, we look at skeletal muscle as the organ that bridges Earth and beyond. It's clear it's what kept our ancestors alive. It's clear that it's applicable today, even though technology and everything has evolved to the point where most of your life can be handled at the click of a button. All right, it doesn't change the physiology, right? Your iPhone can't build a muscle for you. No matter what patents we put out for processes and systems and engines, the basic physiology is exactly the same, which is why we always focus on repeatable, efficient, predictable systems. But as we look more towards human expansion readiness, we know it's not going to be built on optimism alone. It's still going to be built on transferability. Can the body you built on Earth maintain function and confinement, maintain force under reduced gravity, and even maintain morale through movement? Is it possible for it to maintain structural integrity when logistics get harder and maintain enough reserve to solve real world problems after travel, stress, or scarcity? Now think about this. Muscle on Earth or off-world is still the bridge organ between aging and longevity. It just delays what the outcome will look like. And you can see it across the spectrum. And as much as we want to believe it's just because you're young, right? That's not true. You can compare me to the average 31-year-old, and it will be a tremendous difference just by standing next to each other. Now do the same thing with those that are 40 that understand this concept versus those that are 50 versus those that are 60. In fact, we could reasonably argue that there are more people in their 50s and 60s in better shape than those in their 20s and 30s because they have a better understanding of how this all works. So Earth and off-world comfort and austerity, survival and usefulness, all driven by skeletal muscle. You build more capability and capacity here, so you lose less capability and capacity there. Throughout our past few episodes, you've probably heard me say a few things that might have threw you for a loop. One of the words is subterra. And for our Endure Beyond Gold subscribers, you've heard us talk about Project Subterra and what it is that we're focusing on developing. But in essence, we want to explain why muscle matters underground. Now, in subterra or subterranean environments, that could be vault systems, subterranean shelters, subsurface living, endurance and strength become less about appearance and more about sustained operational usefulness. Who gives a shit what you look like when you can't even see each other? So think about that for a second. Skeletal muscle supports repeated low to moderate physical work, carrying supplies, maintenance action, confined space mobility, fatigue resistance, injury buffering, and psychological stability through movement. All things that can't be gained anywhere else without the resources that you have literally at your fingertips. How incredible is that? Seriously, that you cannot compare that anywhere to anything else. If muscle declines, the whole human begins to feel more vulnerable. Think about it. Movement gets harder, task feels heavier, confidence drops, soreness lasts a bit longer, recovery slows, and stress rises. Most people think like, oh, it's just because I'm aging. Incorrect. You are aging, as we all are. But there's a lot happening at the cellular level that you're not keeping up with. And can you confidently say that you're eating well and exercising enough to match what stage of life that you are in? Because I promise you, if you could answer that question confidently and competently, you wouldn't be saying, oh, I'm just getting old and that's why I have no energy and can't move around anymore. If that was true, okay, then everyone in your age bracket would be in the exact same position. Think about that for a second. So the question remains is, what should listeners actually do? Okay, first, if you're new to this whole thing, you treat muscle as infrastructure. Stop treating it as like a side project. It's not something that it's a secondary. It should be the first primary focus in your life. Health is everything. If something's more important than your health, you've already lost the plot, my friend. Second, you train for retention, not just aesthetics. Build base strength, joint stability, and work capacity. Third, build and prepare before you need it. In the military, we had a phrase, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And I believe that you can apply that to just about any aspect of life. And if we're talking about a self-governance organ for longevity, then you bet your sweet bum we can apply it there too. The best time to build muscle is before the onset of aging, before the onset of confinement, before crisis, or before mission or life stress forces the issue. We know sometimes life be lifing, so why not prepare before the inevitable? Fourth, think mission specific. If your future may include heavy work, austere living, field practices, tactical stress, or even, let's say, species level readiness, if you're part of a human group, your training must reflect that. You carry, stabilize, recover, repeat. Fifth, or last but not least, is govern recovery like it matters, because muscle is not built by training alone. It is preserved by how well you rebuild. So if this episode hit the way it should, here's the reality. You do not need another vague motivation speech. Okay, you do not need to scroll more on TikTok or Instagram, hire another trainer or someone who thinks they know what they're talking about in applications on a low level that only get you through the next 14 days and won't really translate through architectural systems to improve the entire scope of your life. You need frameworks. That is why the art of muscle matters, because it reframes muscle as a route towards health superiority, longevity, and capability across the lifespan. As far as I know, I'm the first person to do it in that capacity. So shout out to the team when we first started writing it. Of course, correct me to say, hey, you don't want to be like the other fools out there. You want to be bigger. You want to think massive. You want to be even brighter. So why not do all three? On top of that, we have the 0G muscle shield. And it translates muscle into earth to space readiness with actual tiers. And later on, we're going to talk about biometrics, recovery logic, and even progression. And if you guys want to even take it a step back, maybe you're new to this whole thing. You're just like, Darius, I like what you're talking about. You're confident when you're saying it, so it's clear that you know what you're talking about. But I need somewhere I can start simple. Okay, I'm just, I'm going through some stuff, trying to get my life together, and I want to rearrange some things. Well, then On Victory, my first book, is for you. And it still matters too, because no physiological system gets built without character, self-control, and consistency. I'll say that one more time for someone that might have missed it. No physiological system gets built without character, self-control, and consistency. So if you want the operator layer beyond this episode, the books are a part of the path. We'll have the links to all of them in the show notes. You can get them on Amazon, Audible, Human Library for one of them for just a 0G muscle shield. But On Victory, you can get just about everywhere. Just type in my name and you'll find it. It's really easy. This is what we do, guys. Advancing human potential is our pride. It's our joy. We love helping leaders win. And God willing, we'll be here until the very end. Now, there's other systems a part of the path, and there's also Endure Beyond Goal, which you could subscribe to via Apple Podcasts. And to get more access to actionable intel, I'll be going to more depth, more step-by-step action about how this whole thing works. You get deeper frameworks, drilled, and applied protocols. Remember, skeletal muscle is not just tissue. It is a self-governance organ. It is a longevity organ. It is a readiness organ. And most importantly, it is a civilizational organ. So build muscle like your future depends on it, because it does. Not just for aesthetics, for agency, for resilience, for longevity, for subterra, for exoterra, for the next stage of human capability. This has been Endure Beyond. It's your host, Darius. Thanks for joining us, where we're built for Earth and ready for beyond. Until next time in the next episode, much love to you and your families. Thanks, guys.